Mobee, king of the jungle. Actually, I was under the impression that the lion was the king of the jungle. Here we see a tiger, but I think Mobee supersedes that because this is king of all animals, so I guess that includes the lion. So I thought this cover was interesting. It's funny enough that this was sent to me by a friend who also pointed out right off the get-go that the lion was the king of the jungle. So we both got a kick out of this. Now, I have heard of Mobee before. I've never really known much about their color pencil. In fact, I never really held the brand up as high as a professional color pencil, a professional grade. But they go on to talk about scores of anime and manga and comic artists, as well as just this whole thing about talking about these are used by professionals. And I have to be honest, in my entire run as being a professional artist, I have never once heard one of my peers say, I've got to go get my Mobees to work on this project. It's just not a brand that I personally associated with being a professional illustrator. I want to jump in here though. I was really, again, curious about these pencils just because I really, honestly, I didn't know much about them. So it does come with a swatch sheet, and it's a fairly good quality swatch sheet. It has a little bit of tooth to it, kind of like a color pencil paper. So this is a big plus right off the get-go. Now, what we see here is the notorious black color pencils, which make us right off the bat say, oh, these are probably white labeled. And lo and behold, these are probably white labeled. I don't know that they fall into that category of, say, a Kalour or something. The reason I say they're white labeled is because it takes a lot. It takes a whole lot to create a color pencil from ground level up. I don't want to say that because the design of these is the black barrel with the colored tip. It's not that. It's just little signs. Once you start working on creating a color pencil, little things that just start to ring to you with other brands being white labeled. Now, I went into this set. I went into it thinking, okay, even if these are white labeled, I really started thinking, is that such a dirty word? And I don't think it's as bad as I initially thought. And the reason I'm saying that is because when you go in to get a color pencil and the company that you're going to already has their formula and they say, okay, do you have your own formula or do you want to use one of ours? And the thing is, they can change theirs. They can tweak theirs. Think of a formula kind of like a recipe that your grandma gave you and you think it's just too salty. So you put a little less salt when you make it. That's kind of what color pencils can do. They could take out a little bit of this and that just to make it different enough that it feels, and sometimes it doesn't even feel different. It just is different. But not even that. I thought, if I take a pencil that I'm not crazy about and I reuse that same formula, but now I'm putting quality, serious quality into the wood, into the design, into the packaging, I now like that pencil, the white label, better than the original. So I tried to go into these with an open mind. First, let's look at a pencil itself. Let's just jump in here. We have 3 trays. So let's just look at one of these here. So we do have the black barrel. It has light skin tone, so the colors are on there. We have their logo, and in the very back, we have the organization number, which is fantastic. The other side, we have their logo of Mobee. Now, the pencil feels nice. It has a good quality to it. It was that thing when I first started using it, I thought it was weird. When I did my first level of swatching, the tips of the pencils did this really weird thing where it would bunch up this clear wax. I've never seen a pencil do that before. And it was pencil after pencil would kind of mush down into these little blooms, these little mushrooms at the very end that was just pure clear wax. So right then I started thinking, okay, well, this isn't a Kalour or a Kalour, because those are cleaner. Those are a more professional lead, a core. These just kind of fell by the wayside as far as my very first initial thought when I started using them. Because when I would go to swatch, when that clear wax would hit the paper, it would leave this white streak, almost like I was taking a blender or a clear crayon and going over the paper first where the wax couldn't sink into the page. It was just kind of bizarre. I've never come across that before. And it was pencil after pencil that did that on these. As far as the colors go, if we look at this swatch sheet here, which overall is a beautiful sheet, something I do want to point out, my number 102 was missing. I had two, and I think it was 100 and maybe let's just say 119. I had two of something, which made me realize that I was missing something. And I had to use the swatch sheet to figure out I'm missing number 102. So if someone has Mobee pencils and they eventually want this swatch sheet, be warned, I have no idea where this goes because I don't have this pencil. And after reaching out to them, it was just dead silence. It was basically, hey, can I get another pencil? Can I, can you figure out how can we fix this? I need this pencil. And it was just crickets from them. These things happen. It just would have been nice if they tried to remedy it happening. If we look at the colors, it has a nice set of yellows, but it has a very small set of yellows. Lately, with Arteza, Artex, a couple of the sets I've been going through lately, it's an abundance of yellow. This has very few. And the big struggle is the yellow into the reds. It doesn't have that nice, soft gradient you expect where it goes from a yellow to a darker yellow into that soft orange, into the deep orange, into the red. It doesn't really have that. It does have a beautiful selection where you go into the pinks, into the reds and the mauves. That mauve will transition perfectly into that purple, into the violets. And then when we start talking about the ochres, this set has a great selection of ochres. And we're talking from that cream color to your true ochre, and then right into your brown, into that true umber, that reddish orange. Now, it did not have a lot of the really dark browns, that deep cocoa brown that I wish it had, but it does have a beautiful selection of browns. That into your greens, from your greens into your aquas, into your blues. In your blues, you do have that violet kind of mixed into your true blues. And again, then the transition does go into your violets. Now, if we look at it here, it does offer a nice selection of grays, and that goes from your white into your black. There's two colors that look a lot like black. You have your French gray here, which I almost stuck this into the browns, which I do a lot of times. Once you take this dark gray and you put it right next to a brown, the transition is so seamless where you do have that deep dark color. But this one still fit more like a gray. But if you could, I don't know if it picks it up on the camera, but if you see, there is a lot of brown in number 142 right here. But here, I want you to see them as a whole. There's not a lot of yellows, and some of the yellows it did have, I had to spread them out because it had more of the brown in it. This one probably could have been stuck up somewhere in these yellows, but I already had a soft yellow starting this family. I had another yellow starting this family. But look what I mean with the transition. It isn't a slow roll. It goes right from your yellow, orange, darker orange, into that red, into a darker red. Something that this did suffer from, I don't have the really true red. There is something right here, and maybe over here where you're finding that what you would consider a true red, but for the most part, it didn't have that option of reds that I usually look forward to. A fantastic selection of pinks. And like I said, you go into those mauves, into the purples, but as far as your true red, I wanted something a little stronger there. For your greens, where it suffered there was sometimes they have that nice transition from your brown where it goes into that earth green, that olive, that brown olive. It didn't have that. This family right here is the closest you're going to get to that olive section, but it didn't have that dirty green that I also like a lot. Nice selection right here. Nice selection right here. That's the violet I was talking about, where it's kind of the blue violet, but then you go into the true violets. So it has a beautiful palette. In the colors that it does suffer from, I think it's sticking the extras up in here. From the pink section all the way to this purple section, it is pretty vast, and it is a beautiful selection. And again, right here, this is gorgeous. But it does suffer from not having some other colors. Now let me talk about using these colors. So when I first started playing around with them, I realized some of the colors were scratchy, and that's when it went into two colors like the grays and the greens and the browns. There was an abrasive feeling to those colors. But then when you go into your reds and your yellows, it is a softer compound, so those colors went down a little smoother. They blended pretty well, and they layered pretty well. Neither of those two things were fantastic. Not enough that I would consider these artist color pencil. They just, honestly, they felt like a great student pencil or even a pencil for children. There was a fun classic feel while using them, and it did get the job done. The colors were really vibrant. That's one thing I can definitely give them. The yellows popped and the greens popped. It really produced a vivid, bright color when using them. My complaints were just the quality, the feel of it. It felt like it was a step up from like a Crayola, where your Crayola has a little bit of a harder core. These did go down a little smoother, but you sacrificed because there was a grittiness to them. And a lot of the pencils were offset. So when you go to sharpen them, the wood kind of comes towards the tip. So you never really could utilize it. I was finding myself holding the pencil at funky angles at times just so I could use the lead up a little more because, again, they were just off-center. I kept on having to shave the tip of the wood off so I could get to the actual core of the pencil, the lead of the pencil. So I'm going to say these pencils were a fun pencil. And I'm also going to say these pencils, I'm 90% sure they're white labeled. I'm not sure what they're white labeled of, a cheaper pencil, because if they are something like a Castle Arts, they are a lower grade of Castle Arts. So if you have a set of Castle Arts or just your basic wax pencil, you could probably avoid these and you're not missing out. I don't see jumping over these unless I'm really wanting to use them for a cheaper project, something I'm not worried about burning through my pencils. Then I might grab these. But all in all, in my honest opinion, they're not offering me anything new, something that makes me say, oh, let me go grab those Mobee pencils because I really like the way they blank. You know, there's nothing that they do that stands out above another even lower grade pencil. These don't go down smoother than a Naoni or an Uku. They're not any more bright, vivid than an Uku. They don't give you more color options than something you would get in a Castle Arts or a Pelican. These are a lot like a lot of the other pencils that you could find out there, but they don't score as high in each of the categories that you would like them to. Fun, yes. They work well, yes. They will give you the outcome you're looking for, but they're not going to give you your 4 or 5 stars you're looking for when comparing them to other pencils that you most likely already have.